Okay, today we're going to look at measuring distance, but we're not going to do measuring distance with a ruler in this video. We're going to do more measuring distance using a number line type problems. So our first example here, we have a number line, and we have 2 points on that number line, A and B, and we want to figure out how far is it from A to B. That's what AB means, is what's the distance between A and B. So there's 2 ways to do it, maybe more than 2, but 2 that I'm going to explain. We could just count. So we go from -2, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11 spaces between A and B, so the answer is 11. But we're not always going to count out each different step. We're going to be looking at, other ways to do this. And so another way to do it is we can start at 9, and we go backward to A, and to figure out how far it is from 9 to -2, we can subtract. So it would be 9 minus -2. So find the distance between 2 points, you just subtract those two. So 9 minus -2 is the same as saying 9 plus 2. Whenever you subtract a negative, it's the same as plus. And 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, so another example, if we have CD here, we could just count. So we could just bounce from C to D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from C to D is clearly 6. Or use the subtraction technique. So -3 minus -9. And we end up with, well, that's the same as saying -3 plus 9, which is 6. And, let's say on accident you subtracted them out of order and you said, well, -9 minus -3. Well, that's going to end up being -9 plus 3, which gives you -6. But the thing you can remember is if we're measuring distance, it's always absolute value. It's how far is it from one to the other. You can't have a negative distance. So even if you get a negative answer, it's still going to be correct. I'm sorry, it wouldn't be correct. You'd have to just make it positive, and that would be the correct magnitude. Okay, so we're not always going to be using, nice easy ones where we can just hop from point to point. Here there's going to be a ton of different little tick marks in between there. I don't want to count all of those, so the other technique's going to work really well. We're going to go 84, take away -56, and that's going to give us how far it is from F to G, or from G to F. So 84 minus -56, that's the same as 84 plus 56, which gives us 140. So the distance between G and F is 140. Okay, so now we're going to start looking at some that are a little bit more complicated. On this one, we have 4 different points. And so let's label what they give us. WX is 5. XZ is 13. So let's use a different color here. From X to Z. Oh, I'm sorry, I was starting at W there. From X to Z is 13. And from Y to W is 16. Okay, and it wants us to find a couple different things. So I typically like to start with, just start finding things. I'm not necessarily going to go in this order. So I'm going to see if I can figure out something. And I notice here that WX is 5, and then from X to Z, that's 13. So from W to Z is 5 to here, and then it's 13 more to get to Z. So 5 plus 13, that's going to give us 18. So I know that WZ right here is 18. All right. So if we know that the whole thing is 18, from W to Y this is 16, well 16 plus what will give us 18? Well 16 plus, you could probably do that in your head, 16 plus 2. And if you couldn't do that in your head, just subtract 16 from both sides like we looked at on previous videos. And we get question mark equals 2. Okay, so YZ is 2. Okay, and then last one it asks us is what's xy? So what's this section right here? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this 13, the blue segment. That means from x to z is 13. But if I take off this 2, this is really going to end up with 13 take away 2, because the whole thing's 13 take away 2, we get 11. So xy is 11. All right, we've got 2 problems left, and these 2 are both going to be word problems. And so let's look at the first one. It says on a number line, r is located at 15, and rs has a length of 23. Where is s located? So the first thing I want to do is draw it out. I'm going to draw a number line. So here's my number line, and I'm just going to put r on it, and I'm going to put that at 15. So there's r, it's at 15. And 0 might be somewhere over here. Okay? And when it says rs has a length of 23, that means when you start at r and you go to s, from r to s, that's 23 units long. Okay, so the question is, where is s located? Well, if we're at 15 and we're going 23 more, that's just going to be 15 plus 23, which gives us 38. So s is located at 38. Oh, but wait, how do you know that you had to go to the right? What if you went 23 the other way? So instead of 23 to the right, we went 23 to the left. Well, that's going to get us a different answer. So this would end up being 15, and then we're going 23 in the negative direction, so it'd be 15 minus 23, which gives us negative 8. So s could be at 2 different spots. It could be either at negative 8 or positive 38. So this type of question actually has 2 potential answers. And in this case, it's negative 8 and positive 38. Okay, one more problem for this one, and then we'll be on our way. It's a word problem. Wendy's driving to Duluth. When she leaves Burnsville, she sees a sign that states Hinckley 97 miles and Forest Lake 45 miles. When she gets to Forest Lake, she sees a sign that states Duluth 126 miles. So there's a couple different questions here. How far is it from Forest Lake to Hinckley? And how far is it from Burnsville to Duluth? And you don't need to know your Minnesota geography to get this one. I gave you a little note that she passes through Burnsville, Forest Lake, Hinckley, and Duluth in that order. So let's draw this out then. We're going to start by putting a B for Burnsville. And we know that she's going to drive, and she's going to end up in Duluth. She goes Burnsville, then to Forest Lake, then to Hinckley. Okay, so let's label some of these things that they told us in this word problem. We use black. So it says, when she leaves Burnsville, so she's right here, she sees a sign that says that Hinckley is 97 miles away. So we're going to make a little deal here that says 97 miles away. Okay? And at that same spot from Burnsville, it says Forest Lake is 45 miles away. So that means this is going to be 45. Okay, then once she gets to Forest Lake, which is the F one, she sees a sign that says Duluth 126 miles. So from Forest Lake to Duluth, that's 126. All right, so we've got a few different questions. How far is it from Forest Lake to Hinckley? So that's going to be our red question mark. And how far is it from Duluth to Burnsville, or Burnsville to Duluth? So that's going to be the entire distance. That'll be our green question mark. Okay, I'm actually going to answer the second question first. That one, it's just going to take one step to get that one done. So if we know from Duluth to Forest Lake is 126, and from Forest Lake to Burnsville is 45, the whole distance, we're going to add those two together. 126 plus 45, we get 171. So from Burnsville to Duluth, it's 171 miles. Okay? We can write that here. And then it says, how far is it from Forest Lake to Hinckley? That's this middle part. There we're going to have to do a little bit of work. But we know that from Burnsville to Hinckley is 97. And from Burnsville to Forest Lake is 45. So if we take away this 45 from the 97, we're going to end up with Forest Lake to Hinckley. So 97 take away 45, we get 52 miles. So from Forest Lake to Hinckley, that is 52 miles away. All right, and that's it for this edition of Measuring Length.